Today's show is sponsored by the Electric Vehicle Association. Join up to support the electrification of transport and get the help you need to finance your own EV or clean energy future. And by Energy Sage. Visit the link in the description to find local, verified solar experts, community projects and heat pump specialists in your area. And by Atmos Financial. Bank better with a financial technology company that's powered by a portfolio of clean energy investments. Welcome back to another episode of TEN, Transport Evolved News. We start today's show with the ongoing assault on environmental protections, clean energy and EV adoption in the US by its recently inaugurated president. Now in his second week in power, President Donald Trump continued issuing executive orders this week that will, at best, gum up the process of transitioning the world to a cleaner, greener future and, at worst, kill or severely limit the efficacy of programs previously signed into law that aim to reduce emissions, build good resiliency, and a healthier, zero-emission transportation future. At the time of filming this on Thursday, we've seen all kinds of executive orders passed, challenged, and rescinded, and frankly, it's hard to keep up. But what we can say with absolute certainty is that EV charging station deployment and federal funding for EV programs are being severely disrupted. We've already heard from companies worried about their future, and I think cruelty and uncertainty are the point of all of this. Sure, it's happening in the US, but companies that are destroyed here as a result of this particular aspect of the political landscape won't exist anywhere as a result. For many years, naysayers of electric vehicles have claimed that EVs will never be profitable. This week, General Motors published its full-year financials for last year, proving that FUD wrong. Focusing on the fourth quarter, in which EV sales revenue was higher than the fixed costs associated with making the vehicles, GM called its Q4 EVs quote-unquote variable profit positive. It increased sales in the fourth quarter, and that helped that happen. But the figures were also a little massaged by the fact that GM launched two high-end EVs at the tail end of last year, the Cadillac Escalade IQ and GMC Sierra Denali EV, both of which have pretty high sticker prices that help offset their lower build costs. And if you're feeling a little like there's some further data massaging going on, I should be clear that GM's evaluation doesn't factor in things like building new production lines. Globally, GM turned a $7.1 billion profit last year, although its fourth quarter saw a loss of $1.7 billion. For various reasons, mainly technological and financial, battery swapping setups around the world didn't gain a whole lot of traction in the EV world until Chinese firm NIO introduced its own battery swap technology in 2018. But since then, NIO and some of its rival companies in China have helped bring about a surge in interest in battery swap tech, with some Chinese EV owners almost exclusively using battery swap to keep their EVs on the road and charged. We've seen NIO's battery swap tech move to Europe in recent years, and now the firm has announced it's working with the German Commission for Electrical, Electronic and Information Technologies in DIN and VDE to establish an industry-wide standard across Germany for battery swapping. Officially now called DIN EN IEC 62840, the standard lays out some general requirements for how batteries should be engineered to enable them to be swapped, as well as the communication standard used during the swap process and important information about charging, cooling and monitoring. Here's hoping we see the standard adopted by other automakers around the world. BMW has officially unveiled its mid-cycle refresh for its full-size electric SUV, the BMW iX, and for the 2026 model year, the car gets more than just a few customary styling tweaks. For the new model year, each BMW iX variant gets a brand new battery pack with tweaked cell chemistry. The entry-level iX xDrive 45, which has a more affordable price point compared to last year's iX xDrive 50 model, features just over 100 kilowatt-hours usable, while the range-topping iX M70 features 112.8 kilowatt-hours usable. These new battery packs come with improved battery management, new silicon carbide inverters, and increased least range, with the most efficient variant managing 340 miles or 547 kilometres of claimed range per charge. In the US, the entry-level variant starts from just over $76,000. For most people, a $76,000 car isn't exactly affordable, but there's hope that might be coming, thanks to a rumour about a new model being developed by Honda. I'd be very disingenuous if I'd suggested that all low-cost vehicle rumours come true, because they patently don't. But according to multiple sources, Honda, buoyed by the success of its GM-built Honda Prologue EV in the US, is now looking to build a new model for the US market that will be built in the country to avoid suffering at the hands of import tariffs. Nikkei Asia said this week in reporting that the model will be a small EV with a target price of less than $30,000. Moreover, the reporting suggests that Honda is looking to begin production of this vehicle as early as next year. While we don't have a whole lot more to go on, and I want to reiterate this is still an unconfirmed rumour, the US EV industry needs all the good news it can muster right about now. Alas, I don't have good news for this next story, because it's about the confirmed change of plans from yet another automaker off the back of the results of the last US election. Since the US inauguration, we've seen multiple new electric vehicle models dropped, delayed and or neutered for the North American market, with Chrysler, Ram and Nissan all confirming a change of plans that won't help EV adoption. This week, it was the turn of Volkswagen, which confirmed that its ID.7 electric sedan won't be coming to North America. But unlike Nissan, Chrysler and Ram, which were all a little cryptic in their messaging, Volkswagen was very explicit, blaming its decision on the quote-unquote ongoing challenging EV climate. While Volkswagen says it will continue to bring new electric models to the North American market, we have sadly been here before and know from experience that automakers do tend to lean into whatever is going to make them the most money. And right now, I would surmise, in a world of drill baby drill, that's going to be gas guzzlers. Electric vehicles are very often criticised for being too expensive, and those criticisms are valid. Right now, while there are more affordable models available in select markets, affordability is still a major barrier to adoption, especially with high interest rates for loans. But in the UK, a new policy is being considered that could help more people get behind the wheel of an EV. And I'm not just talking about cash-on-hood purchase grants or rebates. According to the UK's Financial Times, the British government is considering a new subsidised loan programme designed to bring down the cost of EV ownership for individuals. While EV sales in the UK continue to rise, they've primarily risen in the company car sector, where there are significant financial benefits to driving electric over ICE. But for many private car buyers, the sticker shock makes buying an EV just cost prohibitive, and many of those who do opt for an EV just end up leasing because it's cheaper. The new programme being considered by the UK government would work with lending institutions to subsidise EV loans, effectively giving EV customers a lower interest rate for their purchase. More details to come on this, so watch this space. I am afraid that we're back to the US for this next story, namely the newly appointed Trump-nominated Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, who we've reported on previously, and he's just called for fuel economy standards to be lowered. Duffy, who has previously gone on the record as trying to portray EV owners as freeloaders, wrote a letter to NHTSA this week in which he ordered it to consider rolling back US fuel economy standards. His logic was that higher fuel economy standards are less safe and will lead to more deaths because higher fuel standards make for more expensive cars and thus more people will be driving around in older vehicles. He also reiterated that he wants to end all EV subsidies and says lower EV sales will help customers and the auto industry. There's no mention, of course, of the environmental impact and safety risks of driving less efficient vehicles, and I should also note here that there's no real data to suggest that making more efficient vehicles drives the price up. If that were the case, only fuel-efficient vehicles would be more expensive, and last time I looked, all vehicle prices have increased over the last decade. As Germany heads towards its next election, an election in which, like the last US election, Tesla's CEO is heavily trying to influence the outcome in favour of far-right policies, the future of many German wind projects is becoming increasingly uncertain. While the German government had previously gotten rid of much of the red tape associated with the approval process for large-scale wind farm deployment, partly due to energy security concerns following Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, there's now rising pressure in Germany, particularly from the political right, who want to stop further wind turbine projects. While nothing has been set in stone yet, a new bill is making its way through the German legislature, which would effectively create a blanket ban on new wind turbine permits and make it pretty difficult for new wind farms to be built. With 4 weeks left until the election, and the AfD party using a similar playbook to the US Republican Party last year in the US to rail against green policies, things aren't looking great. But to happier news now, namely that during the first 11 months of last year, the amount of utility-scale solar generation in the US grew by more than 26%. The largest growth in utility-scale solar energy capacity in the US in history. A total of 81.4% of all new energy generation capacity added to the US electrical grid last year came from solar. That's according to newly published data from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, and the US Energy Information Association, the EIA. According to the two groups, by the end of last year, utility-scale solar generation in the US sat at 125.53 gigawatts, around 9.61% of the total US large-scale grid capacity. It's important to note, though, that this figure does not include smaller-scale photovoltaic generation, such as solar panels mounted to the roof of people's homes. It's not clear if the expansion will continue at last year's rate yet in the US, but here's hoping it isn't neutered too much by the current White House administration. And talking of solar, if you'd like to help expand the solar generation capacity of your region, maybe you should talk to one of today's video sponsors, Energy Sage. Energy Sage helps homeowners connect with local, verified solar installers across the US, and now heat pump specialists in select markets, who really know their stuff and can help you navigate the process of installing solar panels, help you join a community solar program, or get a heat pump installed. We used Energy Sage when we were looking for installers willing to help us put solar panels on the roof of our home, and our Energy Sage verified installers were professional, knowledgeable, and even put us in touch with an amazing credit union that allowed us to finance our solar panels for as low a monthly payment as possible. Follow the links below to sign up for either of Energy Sage's free, no-obligation services and get the ball rolling today. If you choose to use an Energy Sage installer for your project, we will also get a small referral fee, so you'll be helping us out too. Help the grid get greener, save money, and support the channel. It's a win-win-win. And now it's time for our news shorts. Acura has recalled its ZDX EV over a problem with affected vehicle's assembly that could result in the front stabilizer bar coming loose and damaging high-voltage cables and battery coolant lines. Acura is going to reach out to owners of affected vehicles for complimentary inspection and vehicle repair. Certain Chevrolet Silverado EV and GMC Sierra Denali EV pickup trucks have been recalled to address an incorrectly tightened seatbelt assembly bolt. Last year, a similar recall affected the same vehicles, but this time, just 5 vehicles are believed to be affected and owners are being notified. Certain model years of Kia Niro, including the Kia Niro EV, have been recalled due to an issue with underseat wiring that, under certain circumstances, could lead to airbags and front seatbelt pretensioners not firing as designed. 80,023 through 25 model year Niros are affected. European startup Flexis, born out of a joint venture between the Renault Group, the Volvo Group and CMA CGM, have unveiled its first range of electric commercial vehicles focused on offering urban electrified logistics. Sharing a single skateboard chassis, step vans, body-on-chassis and panel vans will all be offered. Hyundai has just unveiled its E3W and E4W last-mile electric delivery vehicles at India Auto Expo 2025. Designed for use in India's densely populated cities, Hyundai is considering working with Indian three-wheel specialist TVS Motor Company to make them domestically for India. Davos's annual World Economic Forum event has gained a bit of a reputation for being the place where rich people go to play, and this year Genesis unveiled a concept car for the event that gives the Genesis GV60 tracked wheels for mountain rescue capabilities. It's neat, but it's very much a rich person's concept. Meanwhile, in Austria at the World Cup weekend, Audi unveiled its own winter-themed concept EV, the Q6 e-tron off-road concept, with a massive lift kit, rugged, winter-capable wheels, some chunky wheel arches to accommodate those new wheels, and a full roof bar. Audi says it can climb snowy gradients of up to 40%. While this week's US news has been full of anti-green rhetoric, Ørsted and Portland General Electric confirmed their decision to go ahead with the building of a massive new offshore wind farm just off the Oregon coast, and Clearway Energy confirmed its decision to upgrade its existing Cedro Hill wind farm to increase its generating capacity in Texas. And we can't ignore good news like this. British outlet Autocar is claiming that BMW is considering basing future iX5 models and larger EVs on modified internal combustion engine platforms. For smaller models, it will use its new dedicated new class platform, but Global Politics suggests BMW is looking to avoid developing a dedicated larger platform for EVs. Rumours from India seem to suggest that Indian 2- and 3-wheel specialist Bajaj Auto might be about to enter into a contract manufacturing agreement with Microlino that will allow it to build Microlino electric microcars for the Indian market. That firm already builds KTM motorcycles under licence. It seems opposition to renewable energy projects isn't just affecting the US White House. In the UK, there's now significant pressure being put on the UK government and local authorities to shelve plans for a brand new massive 2,000-acre solar park in the Cotswolds. Campaign leaflets against the farm are full of dis and misinformation. A supermajority of workers at the newly built BlueOval SK lithium-ion production facility in Kentucky have voted to become UAW represented. After the UAW successfully unionised the Ultium Cells production facility in Lordstown, Ohio, workers at BlueOval SK, which produces batteries for Ford, decided they should also have collective bargaining. Kia owners who had managed to trick the supercharger network to work with their car by saying they had a Hyundai found out this week that their access has now been blocked. Kia is due to get supercharger access shortly, but for now, owners who had employed the workaround won't be able to. The BMW i5 is getting a slight range increase for its 2026 model year. Like its larger sibling, the iX, the i5 gets a brand new battery for this model year, which increases its range by as much as 29 miles or 47 kilometres, depending on specifications. The humble Chevrolet Spark EV, precursor to the Chevrolet Bolt, has pretty much been forgotten by most in the EV world, especially since it was only sold in a few select markets. But now the nameplate is about to return, in Brazil. This week, Chevrolet confirmed it's bringing the Spark moniker back in the form of the Spark EUV electric crossover. During India's Auto Expo 2025 this week, VinFast laid out its plans to bring the electric vehicles to the Indian market for the first time. Its first models to launch there will be the VF6 and VF7, which will be the first time either model has been sold in a right-hand drive configuration. Pricing has yet to be set. SEAT doubled down on its electric vehicle commitments this week, promising it will dramatically expand the number of charging stations at its dealerships, while also preparing a brand new model for launch. The newest model, called the Cupra Raval, is due to be unveiled this year. Volvo has used the 2026 model year switchover to add plug-and-charge capabilities to more of its vehicles. While plug-and-charge was previously available in the EX90, EX30, EX40 and XC40 models in Europe now gain the functionality thanks to an upgrade in those vehicles' onboard infotainment systems. Genesis has confirmed it plans on phasing out all of its internal combustion engine models in Europe, with the goal of being a full electric brand in the region by the end of this year. It's worth noting, though, that Europe and the UK has a roadmap to a full ban on new ICE vehicle sales, which not all vehicle markets have. European ferry firm Balearia has announced that it will establish the very first all-electric ferry service between Europe and Africa. 2 brand new ferries fitted with 11 megawatt-hours of onboard battery packs, plus backup diesel engines for emergencies, have been commissioned for the service. According to multiple news sources, Volkswagen Group is seriously considering building future Porsche and Audi EV models for the North American market in the US. It would be part of a plan to circumvent retribution tariffs threatened by President Trump on vehicles made overseas. Smart grid charging company WeaveGrid, which focuses on developing the software and hardware to build the future of smart EV charging, has received a sizable, but as yet undisclosed, strategic investment from Hyundai and Kia. The company had already received substantial funds from Toyota. The US Solar Energy Industries Association, the SEIA for short, has announced its intent to help the US reach a goal of 700 gigawatt hours of total installed grid-tied storage capacity and 10 million distributed storage installations by the end of 2030. Currently, there's about 83 gigawatt hours installed. The People's Republic of China appears to be trying to encourage its citizens to switch out their current lithium-ion-powered electric bicycles and swap them out for newer bikes powered by sealed lead-acid batteries. This seems to be motivated by fears over poorly made lithium-ion battery packs. Audi has published details of its brand new electric car charging park that's designed to help it simulate the effects of mass EV adoption on the electrical grid. The testing park will be used by Audi to design better charging systems and future smart grid-enabled offerings for EVs. After it breached its contract with Volvo Cars on Novo Energy, a battery joint venture between Volvo and Northvolt, Volvo has officially purchased Northvolt's shareholding in the entity. Northvolt is currently under US bankruptcy protection, and buying out its share was a very smart move for Volvo. Toyota, Suzuki and Daihatsu have agreed on a timeline to launch a new jointly developed Kei-class delivery van in Japan. First teased last year, the trio of small battery electric vehicles will launch sometime this year. Each vehicle will share the same underpinnings, but come with their own respective badge and name. While all signs still suggest Nissan and Honda's planned merger is on track, Mitsubishi confirmed this week that it will not be joining the pair in the official partnership. While Mitsubishi will continue to work with Nissan, it wishes to remain more independent for the time being. RSEV in the UK recently plotted the battery degradation of a large number of EVs passing through its dealership and concluded that while batteries are slowly degrading over time, the overwhelming majority of EVs are suffering such minimal battery degradation that it won't be a problem during the life of the vehicle. Polestar has confirmed that it will be pushing back the planned production launch of its Polestar 6 sports car. Originally planned to launch as a 2026 model, it will now launch the Polestar 6 after the official production launch of the Polestar 7, a compact crossover SUV, which will happen probably next year at the earliest. BP, working alongside Travelcentres of America, has officially turned on the first of its 400-kilowatt rapid fast-charging stations in the US. Located in Florida, these stations were front and centre on the press feed of Travelcentres of America, but I couldn't find them anywhere on BP's news site. Mitsubishi Fuso, a subsidiary of Daimler Trucks, has announced the launch of a new Second Life battery demonstration project that will launch this month. Used batteries will be added to DC fast charging sites to allow fast charging deployment even where electrical grid total capacity is limited. Audi has confirmed what will happen to the staff at its soon-to-close Brussels production facility where the Audi Q8 e-tron was built. In addition to offering more than twice the legally required redundancy payments, up to as much as €200,000 or €400,000, Audi plans on offering those laid off an additional bonus in their last paycheck. Mitsubishi has confirmed that it will soon launch its very first electric SUV for the US market. Detailed at the company's brand conference, the firm aims to launch a crossover SUV coupe for production next year. It will, as best as we can tell, be based on Nissan's next-generation Leaf replacement. Hyundai has officially opened its first battery manufacturing facility in India. Located next to the factory where its just launched Indian market Hyundai Creta EV will be made, it will provide it with both LFP and NMC battery packs for domestic Indian production. As President Trump threatens massive tariffs and the ban on Chinese-made automotive components from the previous administration still stands, Polestar is on the lookout for new suppliers based in North America to use for its US market EVs. But some analysts question if Polestar actually will have a future in the US. Lucid has confirmed that its Gravity SUV is getting the NACS connector as standard for the new model year. Lucid already has supercharger access using adapters for CCS Type 2 vehicles, but anyone buying the new model year Gravity SUV will no longer need an adapter to make use of superchargers. And finally, for the news shorts, the Lucid Air Dream Edition has, for some time, been the longest-legged electric vehicle on sale, but this week it lost that title after GMC, managed to go further, at least according to Edmunds, where the big truck managed 507 miles on a single charge of its ludicrously massive battery. The Lucid Air is still far more efficient, though. Just saying. And those are your news shorts. There will be more next week. Our final two stories are next, but first a quick word from friend of the channel, Atmos Financial. Imagine a bank where your savings not only grow, but also go towards growing a greener world. And that's exactly what Atmos Financial does for you. With Atmos, every dollar in your checking and savings account is funding projects that light up lives with solar energy rather than fossil fuels. Atmos is banking that builds a better tomorrow with every swipe of your card today, because it's committed to investing 100% into clean, equitable and sustainable progress. With a competitive savings rate and a mobile app, your finances and the climate can go hand in hand. It charges no monthly fees and there are no minimums keeping you awake at night. It even offers accessible solar loans for those who want to give the fossil fuel industry the ultimate middle finger. By joining Atmos using the link below, you're not only choosing a smarter way to bank, you're planting seeds for a healthier earth. And every sign-up supports this channel, which means we can keep bringing you the content you enjoy. I'm personally a customer, and I love knowing that I'm helping save money while also making sure that money doesn't end up funding the fossil fuel industry. As always, thanks to Atmos for sponsoring the show. And now it's time for those last two stories. We've been covering Kiwi firm VAS EV for a while on this channel, specifically its VS9 electric hydrofoil. And as you might remember from the tail end of last year, it's had its VS9 in testing out of Auckland in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and just before the holidays announced that it had received all of the necessary certifications required to allow it to operate as a commercial vehicle. This week, its first commercial customer, Fuller's 360, launched the first VS9 with paying customers on board. The largest ferry operator in the nation, Fuller's 360 is perfectly suited to put the VS9 through its paces on both passenger ferry and tourist routes. With a range of 50 nautical miles on a single charge, the VS9 will also pave the way for a much larger vessel being developed for the company in the form of the VS18. It will be capable of carrying 100 passengers and pave the way for a fully electric fleet in Aotearoa New Zealand very soon. Bring it on. And finally, while electric vehicles are a great way of helping decarbonise our transportation and get us off fossil fuels, and can help us save money as well, it's also important to remember that driving them is also really fun. And today, given all of the horrid news we've had of late, I figured it would be good to finish today's show with a very silly but also very awesome record set by a Porsche Taycan GTS at Porsche's Finnish test track, the longest controlled vehicle drift on ice. Taking to a track in a Porsche Taycan GTS fitted with appropriate shoes, Porsche instructor Jens Richter completed 132 laps of Porsche's ice test track in a continuous, controlled drift. Covering 17.5 kilometres in 45 minutes in a sideways stance, Jens set a new world record, the third that Porsche has claimed using the Taycan. And while I know people often complain about people doing seemingly silly and pointless things with EVs, honestly, everyone, I think we can just let this one slide on by. And on that terrible note, we are done for today's show. As always, a huge thank you to the Electric Vehicle Association for sponsoring today's show. They've been advocating for electric vehicles since 1967 and firmly believe that our future depends on us making the switch to clean, green electric cars today. The EVA can help you find someone near to you who can help you make that switch to electric. It can help you become an EV educator and point you in the direction for monthly meetups for like-minded EV fans. And if you become a member, you'll gain access to a clean energy and EV loan program set up between the EVA and the Colorado Clean Energy Credit Union. You can find out more by heading to myeva.org. And thanks to Energy Sage. Follow the link below to find out how easy it can be to get verified, trustworthy solar experts helping you make that step towards energy self-sufficiency through solar on the roof of your home, by joining a community solar project, or by getting a heat pump installed. And thanks to Atmos Financial. Bank better by following the link below. And if you are someone who made your own transportation or energy greener this week, good job. Well done. If you'd like to support this channel directly, please consider supporting us from $1.50 a month on Patreon, which is just under $13 a year. If you pay annually, that is. We are viewer supported because we believe the information we produce should be free to everyone. So if you support us, thank you. Don't forget as well that we have swag you can buy at our swag store. There's also a way for you to make one-off donations using Ko-fi, Bitcoin, or even old-fashioned checks. We also now have an Amazon affiliate program code you can use if you decide to support Mr. Bezos. We don't like Amazon, but since Amazon allocates a percentage of every sale either to affiliates or its own coffers, we would much rather you help us out than Jeff if and when you have to use that site. So there's also a link for that down below. This year, as I'm sure you know by now, we're changing things up and we're trying to publish on a Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday on this channel, our main channel, plus on a Sunday over on Transport Evolved Take 2. But to finish, remember that you are valid, you are loved, and you have a place in this world, even if, like some of the team here, you are now being attacked directly by your government for simply wanting to exist. It is a scary, scary time, and honestly, I have spent the last 2 weeks alternating between tears and anger. But know that existence is resistance, and that existence makes it harder for hate to exist. So be inspirational, be yourself, be bold, and do good. Don't let hatred win, and for goodness sake, please make up some safety phrases and escape plans you can use with family and friends if needs be. And if you are watching this thinking I'm being hyperbolic or I'm shoving an agenda down your throat, just go and read the news and some of our posts. This week alone, we've had more threats than I care to list, and someone even found my personal phone number and called me and threatened to denaturalize and deport me because they claimed I had an arrest warrant out. Now, that might have just been a generic spammer, or given some of the very specific language they used, it's possible it was also someone upset about things we do on this channel. Nevertheless, we are not going anywhere. We've notified the authorities, and if you want us to disappear, sorry, not sorry, that's not going to happen. So until next time, stay safe, regardless of your identity or who you love. Be an amazing ally, be kind, be that positive change you want to see in the world, and please, for the sake of everyone's future, don't let hate or ignorance win, and as always, keep evolving.